Fletcher Ford Show.
Why in the hell haven't they canceled this yet?
I can't stand you guys.
Bigger muscles, more hair, and extra supplements of vitamins A, B, and Z.
The Fletcher Ford Show. The Fletcher Ford Show. The Fletcher Ford Show.
In order to be successful, and you've got to be completely different. You've got to market different. You've got to do things different. You can't be the same.
Simple, just business.
Don't be an idiot. Yeah, that'd be a great marketing campaign.
I sat down with comedian, TV personality, and New York Times bestselling author Kat Timpf to discuss her new book, I Used to Like You Until How Binary Thinking Divides Us. Kat is an American libertarian columnist, television personality, reporter, and comedian. She's currently a regular panelist on Fox News Channel's Gutfeld and appears on other Fox News shows. Kat, welcome to the show. First off, tell me about the cover.
This book is about, how many of us want a lot of the same things in life, but, we have different ideas of how to get there. And we're so divided that, we begin to believe that it's because someone's in the opposite political party, for example, that we'll have nothing with that person, right? Mm. And this book is a guide for people to connect. And one of the biggest tools, I think, one of the biggest ways we'll have out of this mess is vulnerability, especially in the face of even overwhelming hatred, which is where I got the idea for it. I'm naked on the cover, covered in hate mail. Is the idea of vulnerability even in the face of hatred. And in this book, it's not just the cover. I share a lot of deeply personal stories in this book. And I put it's a lot out there, a lot in the book that I've never put out, that I've never talked about before, kind of in the hopes that other people can do that too, because I do think vulnerability is such a huge tool. I mean, it's going to make it more likely that someone's compassion for you and listen to you. And if you want to be, human, you got to be willing to show that you are human. So that's the idea behind the cover.
Yeah, I saw some Instagram pictures and feeds of your shoot with the cover, and I just thought it was hilarious. I think it kind of throws a left curve to what everybody is expecting in books these days, but I love the idea of, you talk about the way people think and the way people, just dismiss having a conversation. I think you're right on, you hit the nail on the head right there, because it's like, I personally, I've had so many conversations that just ended in almost hate because everybody wants to, pick a side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really kind of sad when you think about it, because politics really makes us fight with people we know in our real life on behalf of people who don't even know we exist.
Yeah.
And but it works great for kind of the politicians and the media. I mean, they're going to use division. They think it's a great idea to give up your rights. It's making them to gain more kind of power and control. But also, I mean, in terms of the rest of us, it can be kind of motivating to think, okay, if the other side's evil, then automatically you're good just because you're not on that side.
Yeah.
And without actually having to do anything to solve any problems. And there is research in this book that backs up the idea that, sadly, moral outrage is more often rooted in self-interest than it is altruism, where people who kind of feel guilt or feel bad about wanting to solve a problem, but they feel powerless over the problem, they're more likely to direct that outrage at a third-party target, but then they also feel better when they do. The problem is, of course, even though they may feel better, they haven't actually done anything to make anything better, and in many cases have made things worse, sadly.
Yeah, it's mostly self-serving. They didn't do shit to make them feel better.
Exactly, but it's the research I write about in the book, and I say it's almost too obvious to even need to be conducted at all. But there is real research that backs that up, right? That it's people are, that's more of the reason for this sort of moral outrage. It's not really moral outrage. It's really just self-serving. It makes people feel better.
Yeah, it's me syndrome for sure. What's your favorite? What's your favorite part of the book?
Well, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I think that it's what's great about this book is that it's also an entertaining read. I think that politics can talk about, challenging your biases can be a challenging thing to do. But with this book, I've made it fun to do that, right? So I I really do think if everyone read this book, we would be better off as a society. I know that that's a bold statement. But I really do it.
That's definitely not a bold statement. I mean, sometimes some people are so simple in the most part, but yet most people just put it out there that they're so complicated and everything's all rooted in, what I believe in and all this stuff. And 9 times out of 10, it's you just believe what someone else believes. You haven't really examined your own thoughts, Well,
that's the issue with binary thinking is once you pick a side, sort of all the thinking has already been done for you. There's no need for you to kind of question anything, challenge anything. You don't need to think at all. And the problem is when you aren't thinking, it leads to a lot of stupid outcomes. And, when it's gotten to the point where people not only have issues with thinking independently, though, people can't even really perceive when someone else is thinking independently. It's let's say you say something critical of Kamala, then suddenly everyone says, okay, well, you're MAGA then. Or if you say something that's critical on the other side, of Trump, then it's like, okay, you're a communist. And it's like, it's actually possible that I have nuanced views. It's absolutely, people can't even perceive that anymore.
Yeah, there's really no discussion anymore. It's just, this is my way and that's what it is. And if you disagree with one out of the 9,000 positions, then you're my enemy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Or they think that if you have an issue or this point of view on this single issue, then that means that you must have this point of view on this whole host of issues. When really, issues are often nuanced and complex, but people always are. So, I really think it's important to remember that, and that's, a common theme in this book as well.
So the book goes on sale tomorrow, right? You can pre-order it today. Mm-hmm. And you're hitting the road for a tour following the launch of this, right?
Yeah, I'm going all over the country. I'm pregnant right now, so I'm touring every weekend until the middle of December when my doctor won't let me fly anymore. So I'm going over the country. I'm very, very excited about it. But you can get my book, order my book and get tickets to all my shows on my website, therealkattimpf.com.
What can someone expect at your live shows?
Expect to laugh. You can expect to, have fun, but also you're going to, leave with maybe thinking differently about the world. So, it's based on the book, but there's also just like a lot of good, laughs as well in there. It's everybody always has a lot of fun when they come to these shows, and I have a lot of fun doing them. So,
a lot of my fans that they know you from Gutfeld, and they love the fact that you're kind of this. You give this persona that you're this quiet person, but when you actually talk about issues or when you're on camera, it's amazing how critical and how expansive your conversation can be and your thought process can be. And I think it's very welcomed in today's society.
Well, thank you. And also I would say, on Gutfeld, you get to see me just kind of more in a sidekick role. But, when I'm on doing these live shows, I had people who come to the live shows who just only ever saw me from Gutfeld. Mm-hmm. And, then they, like maybe the wife's the fan, but the husband's more of into Greg or Tyrus or whatever. But then they see the show and they're like, oh, I never saw her like this before, because they never really had a chance to see her like that before. So, you get to see me running a show, which is a different thing. I really would encourage people to come check those out too. It's a lot of fun.
What's something in the book that would surprise most people that they would find out personally about you?
There's a lot of things. A lot of things. I talk about a lot of personal things I've never talked about in the book before. But one of the things I was most nervous about was last year I was on Accutane for a little bit. And it made me suicidal. I went through a very dark time. It was really, really bad. And I really, really hated myself. And it kind of came to a head one day where I was having issues reading a teleprompter when I was guest hosting a show. And I had a total meltdown. And in the book, I actually share writing from my diary at this time where I'm having a complete meltdown. And just really, it's like, one of those things where I was really scared to include it because I was like, this is the last thing you should be wanting to do, or that people would encourage you to do, would be to admit a work weakness, let alone in writing. But I mean, I really do. I'm very honest about a lot of things I've been through, a lot of things I've struggled with in this book, because I really do think, like I said, vulnerability is going to be such a huge way for us to get kind of out of this mess that we found ourselves in.
Well, that's it's amazing to, see artists and stuff put things out that are vulnerable and have so much personal stuff in it. And I definitely know that the book is going to do well. I imagine you probably hope it will do well, and it will do well. So,
The Fletcher Ford Show. No bullshit, just business.